Hello, governors. Today in the studio, we're met with Troy Ingersoll. Mr. Ingersoll is a longtime St. Louis County community leader and an incumbent member of the St. Lucie County School Board, representing District 5. Mr. Ingersoll has been described as a business owner, minister, youth leader, and athletic coach. Mr. Ingersoll has received no questions in advance, and he's been given the opportunity to independently record this interview. Troy, welcome to Govern Your Shit.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Lex. It's a great day.
It is a wonderful day. Nice and bright, no rain yet, so we're all happy. We're gonna... Can't have the vape on the table, Lord knows.
There you go.
Don't want to see that. Still don't understand why I can't vape. Okay, let's start with a hot button issue.
Go ahead.
Should biological males be permitted to compete on girls' interscholastic athletic teams?
Well, let me tell you. I am a girls' volleyball coach, and just the pure dynamics of that, the answer is no. There's no way. Guys can't compete on a girls' team. There's just a total different makeup of the body, makeup of the athleticism to be able to compete on girls' sports. It just. I mean, I've been coaching for years and years and years, and that's just it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair, and it's not right.
I agree with you. I honestly do. Okay. Your campaign theme is experience matters.
Mm-hmm.
What is the strongest argument for returning an experienced incumbent rather than giving somebody else an opportunity to serve?
That's a real good question, because the people are like, experience matters. Well, how do you get experience? Because that's the real question is then, if experience matters and we want people to have new sight and new vision and, stuff like that. But you get that by volunteering, and just like I did. I started off in schools. I started off in the PTA. I learned the SAC. SAC was how they distributed money through the school. I volunteered in the SAC program at Lincoln Park Academy in Westwood, so that I already knew about the budgeting of the school. So when I got into the school board, I wasn't a brand newbie already. I was already getting myself ready, prepared for this moment. So experience matters is I've already made some mistakes. It's like a business, I've had to make some business decisions, and some of them weren't good decisions. You're like, oh, I can't make that decision. And it's important now because we're past we can make mistakes, because number one, our funding has shrunk and it's tighter. We are experiencing more growth. So when you talk about growth, you're talking about building new buildings. You're talking about leadership. Anybody can build a house. Anybody can build a building. But what's inside of that house? What's inside of that building? And you're talking about leadership. You're talking about principals. You're talking about recruiting new teachers. You're talking about curriculum. So that's the experience. When you're talking about budgeting, we kind of cut $7.5 million out of our budget last year. And you can't cut people, because when you start cutting, you have to cut people. But when 75 or 80% of your budget is employees, and kids still have to have a teacher. Kids still have to have an arts program to go to. Kids still need to be able to have after school curricular activities. One time back in 08, 09, we had to cut sports. And people realized when we started cutting sports how detrimental it is.
Which sports did you cut?
Middle school sports.
All of them?
Yep.
Wow.
And then we cut stipends too. So instead of having a varsity football coach and 3 stipends, we cut 2 of the stipends. They made them volunteers.
How did you recover from that?
Very slowly. I mean, it's not. That's not like one where you just like put a Band-Aid on it and you be banding it. It's slowly but surely we were able to bring things back as property values went up. If you remember back in 2008, 2009, I know you're from Florida. there was a recession. We were the fastest growing community, and then we were also the most foreclosed community. So we went from the fastest growing one, where we were building like 3 or 4 schools every other year, to where we were foreclosed on. And not that our schools were empty, because we still had a lot of children, but we didn't have the property values that we have today to sustain what we had. So we were $30 million in the hole.
Now, it has been said, and accurately so, that disruption comes from the outside. How do you get that disruption so new ideas flow into the board?
I wouldn't. See, here you go. New ideas come all the time. That's education. I've never seen education just sit still. I mean, because right now we're looking at AI, and you have to figure out how to embrace that. And, when people started bringing computers in, people were like, well, we're never going to have computers in schools, or, oh, we're never going to do this, or, oh, we're never going to do that. Well, it's going to happen. You have to have cell phones in school. But do the kids have to have them? No, we have them placed in the front. So if there is an emergency, they can do that. We've had to come up with policies to help guide change that makes reasonable sense, if that's to say. So let's talk about AI, because there's a lot of changes. In my opponents, we'll set this one to the side. We'll talk about football stadiums next. But right now, what we're talking about is change. The guy that I ran against, his greatest change, he would have said, was the mainframe. When I ran against my opponent back in 2004, he goes, "What's the greatest thing that you brought to this county?" And he said the mainframe. I was like, "You've been on the board for 33 years, and the greatest change was the mainframe?" We change all the time. We're changing busing. We're changing busing routes. We're looking at ways to be more efficient. We look at the education value. We look at books. Kids don't get books anymore. They get laptops. So you've had to change a lot. So when people say, oh, they're resistant to change, I don't want to be the leader in change, because you know what happens to the leader in change? You make a lot of mistakes. I like to be like right in the middle, so that I can see what did they make a mistake on, so that I'm not wasting the taxpayer's dollar on that. But, I believe in change. So let's talk about AI. How do you use AI in the school district? And I know this sounds bad, but I am a fuddy-duddy. I don't believe in AI in the school district in regards to students using it as a tool for education.
Okay.
And how do I say that? I was tutoring some volleyball players. We practice, or we have a game like at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, so we're out at 2. So for the first hour and a half, we have study hall, and the kids will ask questions. So we're doing science, and the kids get a science sheet, and I'm sitting down with two students, and we're looking at it, and we're it's like the end of the chapter thing. You get a question sheet, and you go back and you look it through the chapter and find the answer. Well, the girl walks up to us and says, well, "Why are you guys doing that?" She goes, "I just AI'd it." I'm like, AI'd it? How do you AI this? Snapshot it, AI'd it, and gave it all the answers. I was like, wow, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. So girl next to me starts writing down her answers. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, that ain't right. That ain't right. So if this is the same answer for this question, and the next question it's the same answer, how could it be the answer for both questions? That's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls were like, yeah, coach, that ain't right. Well, what's the answer? I don't know what the answer is. Go look in the book. I'm saying this.
I know it.
But I can tell you it's not the same answer. If it's supposed to be hot and if it's supposed to be cold, it ain't, the same thing. So they're like, oh, yeah. I'll tell you one. I'll tell you another one. Personal one is I was preaching on Luke chapter 9. And we're talking about Jesus and leadership. And I AI'd the first 5 minutes of my sermon. And I said, I wanted to know the leadership skills of the last 6 presidents. Well, it was Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Bush, Reagan, and Carter.
They left out Clinton.
Yeah. That's what AI did to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that negative or one way or the other, but
Right.
you got to be careful.
Right.
Now, what was different when me and you were growing up is we had Google. You Googled something and it gave you areas to go and look. You would look at it and then you had to form your own opinion by the research you did, not spoon-fed information, and then you're not thinking about it. Now, here's another situation in AI that I think we need to be teaching kids. I'm in a pool business. I come out and say, hey, Lex, I need to sell you a pool. You say, well, Troy, what's my backyard? Here's my backyard. And what's this going to look like? Well, within 2 minutes, I can show you here. Put a pool in here, and this is what you're gonna. This is the vision. AI can put a pool there real quick. Oh, we want to put a spa here. Okay, AI, put a spa here. If kids start using that for employment purposes or for a career academy, I could understand it. But for using it for, your homework, oh, be careful.
Yeah, we
Be
have to
careful.
maintain development of the critical mind and the mathematical mind.
Exactly. If we took a snapshot of that and did it 2 + 2 + 4, or 2 + 2, 3 + 1, and something else, and they all got different answers. I mean, it just you have to think. Kids can't lose that opportunity to use their minds.
And it's even bad enough with us because we weren't forced to think linearly. Back in the day when you had nothing but photocopy paper, I shouldn't even say that, the mimeograph paper,
Yeah.
where you type once and everything just flows through, we were forced to think straight. Otherwise, you go back and you're starting all over again. You bring in word processors, now you're cutting and pasting. So now you can get all your ideas on the page and then organize them. And I appreciate the tool, but I do think it's somewhat detrimental.
Yeah.
Because we have to teach the kids how to think.
They got to be able to read and think. And I think when you start doing that and when kids start thinking, oh, this is just so much easier, I'd take a snapshot, coach. Like, but what did you learn?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the test, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, because I believe in writing it, seeing it, writing it, and it becomes memory. My dad always made us write, and that was the key to your mind.
Yes,
So
I agree. What has the school district gotten wrong during your tenure?
a lot of things.
Give me 1 or 2 examples.
I can tell you the one that always jumps out at me is back, my son was probably in third. My son's 25 years old, and we screwed a lot of kids mathematically. We used to do communicator math, and it was like you grouped rather than learned.
Oh, heavens, I remember those plans.
Remember those?
They were a nightmare.
We screwed a whole generation of kids, and my kid was one of them. So, when you say, these kids can't do something, they really didn't really grasp the concept.
No, they didn't.
And unfortunately, I was on the board. That was like my 4th year on the board, and that stuff was expensive. That was because you had to buy I can't say the word multiple
modules, multiple modules.
Multiple modules.
Okay.
So, manipulatives, where you had like building blocks, and you had different things for each kid.
Sure.
And it was like freaking expensive. And and I did that.
Why was it so expensive?
Because
was Florida the only state using the material?
Yeah, I don't know, but you got to think we have 3,000 third graders and on up, and when you're spending 70 to 150 per kid, just so that they can do building blocks, small things, that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
That's expensive. So and we do in the state of Florida, we change our curriculum every 5 to 8 years.
Okay.
It's on a cycle. The state picks out the curriculum, and then we choose from that curriculum what, like math. It's math cycle, then English cycle, and then science. And then the state gives you books which to pick from. So that's every school district can pick like 4 or 5 of the curriculums. So, and I say that because we just picked out the math curriculum, and we're 3 years in, and it ain't working.
Wow.
It ain't working. It ain't working at all. And I can tell you it wasn't working because it wasn't working my kid. And so that was 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, And, I don't want to say, we really did the dirt to him, but, he wasn't comfortable. He didn't memorize his times tables because it was grouping. And, it was all trying to figure out how to do funky math. And, he comes home to dad, and dad's like, carry the one here, this, that. And he goes, no, dad, that's not how they taught me at school. I'm like, well, how the hell did they teach you at school?
Right.
I'm like, what's different? How does math change?
It changed.
It changed. Yeah. So now we're back to like real math.
Well, good. Multiplication tables alone, at some point, a flip is switched and it becomes intuitive. And it just happens. It's not memory. It's not an intellectual understanding. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your campaign claims you've made decisions based on what's in the best interest for the students, rather than what's easiest or most popular. Give us an example of an unpopular decision you made because you determined it was in their best interest.
A lot of times, a lot of the things that you pick, you don't realize it, but yeah, I would probably say my recent one is Legacy High School, building Legacy High School over there and making kids go to their zone schools. Not a popular choice. Before we used to say, you had an opportunity to go to this school, this school, this school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, long gone are those days.
Right.
Because we can't, as a taxpayer, we can't afford to send you, and that's a change too, because 90% of the people here wouldn't experience it, but St. Lucie County was under a segregation order up until about 6 years before I got on the board.
Okay.
So every decision that got made had to go down to a judge in Miami.
And had to be tested. Make sure it passed.
Passed, yeah. And then they would come up and, like, if you want to go on a field trip, had to go down to Miami.
Heaven's sakes.
Every decision had to be made because of the order. Once we got out of that, we left it open where kids would get bused from here to there. So when you see online when people are like, we need to quit busing, well, that's what they're somewhat talking about. But even now, to this point, we got all the way from Vero Beach to, let's say, Midway Road. We give kids an opportunity to pick 3 schools they want to go to. Well, it's a little expensive now.
Yes.
So we tightened that up. Well, now we've really tightened it up. If you live in this zone, you're going to Central. If you live in this zone, you're going to Treasure Coast. This zone, you're going to Centennial. And some of the kids that thought they were going to go somewhere with their friends, it's not a popular choice. But you know what? If you want to go to that school, you can go to that school as long as you get your own transportation.
Okay.
Which makes it reasonable, but before we just had to cut it off because we just couldn't afford it.
Now, is that an equitable challenge? I hear people arguing out there that, well, sure, but now if you're underprivileged and we don't have transportation, or mom or dad can't drive you, or somebody else.
No. The state of Florida says within 2 miles of the school, the child has to walk. So
I wasn't aware of that. 2 miles?
2 miles of school, yes, sir.
So that feasibly means the child has to walk 4 miles a day? Am I hearing this correctly?
Close, yeah. 2 miles there and 2 miles back. Yeah,
uphill without shoes.
In the snow
in
too.
In the snow without shoes. Yeah, that's
it's not that bad. Because you don't hear many people complain about that.
I'll complain about it. Do you know how hot it is out there? I'm not walking 2 miles anyway. I don't want to walk 300 feet.
Well, you got to think all of it. Most houses aren't that close.
Okay.
If you look at the Fort Pierce schools, are all down one street.
Really?
Virginia Avenue, Virginia Avenue, St. Lucie, Dan McCarty. Those are the 3 schools we sold. to the county to make money to build a new school.
Mm-hmm.
Longwood, if you throw 2 footballs down, you're almost at Fair Lawn, middle of Rhode Island. If you throw 3 footballs, you're at Sam Gaines.
It would be cool if I could throw footballs in.
Well, the thing about it here is you got Westgate, you got Manatee over there off of Heatherwood,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got St. Lucie K to 8. 3 schools, and people are like, well, why are they like that? Well, we didn't really have development.
Right.
We got what the developers gave us,
mm-hmm.
and so we built schools there. But so it just so happens they're all on the same street.
Let's distinguish graduation rates from proficiency.
Sure.
A student can graduate without being proficient in some of the desirable levels. I'm going to pick on reading, comprehension, and mathematics. That's only from my own experience talking to people. What academic metric concerns you the most today?
I wouldn't say there's an academic metric that concerns me. I would say it's the lack of understanding what we're talking about. So when we talk about graduation rate, you have to understand, what does it take for a child to graduate? And they have to pass English, freshman English. They have to pass freshman their sophomore year. English 11, I call it 1101, 1102, but that's college.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to pass the 2 English or 3 English. You have to pass the math, algebra 1, algebra. I'm not 100% sure, so don't mark me. But you have to pass 18 credit hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't set that. That's the state of Florida. So when they get a high school diploma, and at the end the superintendent says you met all the requirements upon graduation, we don't give that test. We give them the test on the computer, and it's the state of Florida test. And the state of Florida tells them if they passed or failed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when people will say, "Oh, you changed your proficiency." No, if a kid graduates, they have to do what the state of Florida says. It's like if you went to New York, they call them the exit exams.
Right.
So you have to pass those exit exams. It's sort of like when you go take your driver's license. You go to the DMV, you take the test, you either pass or you don't. So where does the school district come in play of saying, oh, you're proficient or not proficient? You pass the test or you don't pass the test.
Mm-hmm.
You get the credit or you don't get the credit.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about 3rd grade proficiency, because that's where everyone's like, 50%, 50% of the 3rd graders can't read. I'm like, yeah, I hear you. But they can text like no tomorrow.
Isn't that the God's honest truth?
So, I mean, if they can read their text, then they can do this. So what can't they read? Well, it's not really reading. It's comprehension and everything else that goes into the test.
Mm-hmm.
It's the standard that they're supposed to be taught. Adjective, adverbs, and stuff like that. Oh, so our kids can read. Yeah, our kids can read. Now, let's talk about, for those the naysayers that are like, 60% at 3rd grade. Well, I think that sounds bad. Only 60%. I would like to be 100%. But when they're coming in at like 10, 20% at 1st grade and 2nd grade, not speaking English at all, I think our teachers are doing a pretty good job getting them from this level to this level in 2.5 years, 3 years, not speaking a lick of English. 33% of our students are Hispanic, 33% of our students are African American, and 33% of our students are white. So it's not like we're coming from like, Iceland or Newfoundland where they're all like mono ethnicity. We got multiple groups here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're teaching at different levels, and our teachers I feel like, are doing a phenomenal job keeping up with it. And how do I know that? Because the proficiency level is growing, because by the time they get to high school, we're graduating 90%. And that's not a made up number. That's tests given by the state, tested by the state, and approved.
Are there significant achievement gaps in any of the schools in the district?
Yes.
Can you give us some examples?
Well, yeah. When you start talking the difference between Harvard In Florida State,
Sure.
is there a difference?
Yes.
Yes. If we started talking about Harvard and a community college, is there a difference?
Big difference.
So we're talking about affluent and not affluent.
Mhm.
And I can say that that happens in our community.
Okay.
So when you talk about affluent is, you're talking about someone raised in Troy Ingersoll's house. Not that I'm affluent, but I'm an active parent.
Right.
Me and my wife are both active in my students, or our children. We've got 2 children. Our children's education. So you better believe that in first grade, when my daughter is saying church, church, and I'm not understanding what she's saying, I'm like, we're getting services. And we're going to the school district saying, hey, this is affecting her education. So who pays for her services? School district's going to help us out. They're going to be in there working with her and stuff like that. She receives speech three times a week for like almost a whole year. Now, she would have gotten the same services in another school, but as a parent, would you have thought that
Right.
or heard that?
Considered it.
Absolutely. You see what I'm saying? Particularly when you're not actively involved in your children. I was doing math with my kids, Algebra 1 all the way up to trig. How many parents can sit there and do that?
Not very many.
So is there going to be discrepancy amongst fluency, affluency? What are not fluency? Economics, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be wrong to say no, but yeah. I mean,
what is the size of the budget? Dollar.
Of the school district?
Yes.
Last year or this year?
This year.
1.07 billion.
$1.07 billion.
Last year it was 1.3. What's the difference?
I beg your pardon?
What's the difference?
Between the two?
Oh, I know. It's 230.
Oh, I was
230 million.
That's an easy one. I thought there was a trick question there.
No, but why is there a $230 million discrepancy?
Why?
Because we built last year, we built 3 new schools.
Okay.
So people need to realize that there's a difference between your budget and it fluctuates. Because, when you do a house budget, you're doing a budget every year. And if your budget went up $300 million, you'd be like, what in the world were those guys doing? Well, we built Legacy High School. We built Westwood High School. And we built Tradition K-8 down the street.
Removing construction and development, what is the biggest expenditure?
Oh, salaries. 75% of salaries.
What is the
of the general fund?
Sure.
Of the general fund, because then you have debt services at $70 million. That's what I'm saying is and I couldn't tell you the total breakdown, but
Right.
we're looking at about $500 and $600 million dollars
on
the general fund.
What is the debt service?
70 million.
$70 million.
Yeah.
Whew. If you learned today that you had to reduce spending by 5%, you don't want to reduce teacher salaries, where do you begin?
Well, that's a great question, because 5% of the general fund or 5% of everything?
I'm going to be fair, general fund.
Okay. Because that's what I'm saying is when you start looking at building and all that other stuff, shoot, I'll just tell you you're not going to have air conditioning this month. No, seriously. The state gives you, we're going to put that question on hold and we're going to come back to that, but that state gives you so much money for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you have to redo your air conditioning units.
Yep.
They start going down, and it's not like here at your house where you can replace one air conditioning unit and you're out $5,000-$10,000, no big deal. It's a big deal to the homeowner, but an air conditioning unit in my facility, it's $2 million.
Right.
Because we're running on chiller plants and stuff like that. So when these chiller plants start going down, you have to budget for them. So that's what I'm saying is the budget it goes up and down depending on the age of the building. And that was really the reason why we I've been pushing to build a new school in my area, getting rid of some of the older schools, is because they're draining the budget. Because we're putting a $3 million roof here, $3 million roof here. We're going to do AC for $5 million here, AC for here, $3 million. and you're talking 8, 10, $20 million when we can build a new school for 70.
Okay.
And then when we sold all the properties, we got like 23 million. So that was, this was like a no-brainer. It's gonna end up costing us 20 million. So going back to your question, yep, 5%. If I had to cut 5%, 5% is a lot. It's almost a lot unreasonable question, but
let's trim it down to 2%.
2%. So 2%. Let's see here, of a $700 million budget, 2%, 10% is 70, so 1% is 14 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. It's a major hit.
No, we got hit 7.5 last year.
Right.
And we cut media specialists, support staff there.
Which is essentially library, or is it something else?
The library teacher is one, but the lady that shelves the books.
Okay.
So we cut her position. We cut other paras. In the green zone, we kept our numbers short, giving more resources to lower income areas. So they had, maybe 2 or 3 assistant principals and 1 principal, where they would only have 1 principal. So we cut back a couple principal positions. We cut back at the district level. We cut back. Where else did we cut? I mean, we made lots of cuts. Stipends. We cut some of the stipends, which that's almost peanuts. That was only $325,000. What else did we cut? We cut quite a few.
Can you point to any part of the district that severely needs revenue now that you're not serving?
I wouldn't say I mean, that's a bad question to ask, to be honest with you. Yeah, we need revenue. Teachers don't make enough money.
Okay.
So, I mean, if I would say, oh, no, we're fine.
But is this a treading water thing, or is this an excelling thing? There's a major difference between those two principles. Something is floundering.
No, No, I'm saying in a perfect world, teachers don't make enough money. Mm-hmm. When you're in the state of Florida and we're number 50, come on.
How much would you like to pay an average teacher? Pull a number.
No, I wouldn't ask me. I mean,
no, I'm asking you.
No, don't ask me. Don't ask me.
Way too high, huh?
Yeah, because I believe in public education and I believe in our teachers. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me to say, oh, 70,000, well, my kid's education was more than that. These people took care of my kid. My kid couldn't do math. I had a teacher stay after school, not because it's Troy Ingersoll's kid, but because she wanted to make sure my kids graduated. She took on her own, own effort, made sure my kid personally walked through 5 or 6 kids that had issues with math. And that woman's only making $65,000, $60,000? Come on. My kid's making $90,000 as a fireman or EMT in Hillsborough. He should be paying that lady's salary more because he wouldn't have that job if it wasn't for her.
I like the way you said that. Let's talk about responsible budgeting.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of an expenditure that you had opposed because you didn't believe the taxpayers would receive the bang for the buck?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was fast.
Oh, because it comes around every year, and I don't even debate it anymore.
Wow.
Renting cars. Yeah, leasing vehicles.
Really? Okay. Damn.
Yeah. No, I drive cars for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
I don't get rid of a vehicle until it's
dead.
Yes. It better cost. I'm refixing the compressor in the air. The front struts are gone and everything's gone, and it better cost me $5,000 or $10,000 to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, there's no reason to buy a new one. In the district just believes in renting vehicles. Well, I mean, we only put 30,000 miles on these vehicles, 40,000 miles.
For its life of the lease?
Yeah, 5 years.
Wow.
Well, you got to think they're not driving far.
Okay.
They're driving to drop things off here. Food services. Food services. We provide food services for other schools because we have to, state mandate.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, when you go look at these vehicles, there's not much mileage on them.
Now, if you purchased the car instead and had your own motor pool, how do you see that working in your mind?
Well, after 5 years, you've had it paid off for, and every day you're making money.
Repair and maintenance.
You're still
ahead.
You're still ahead. I mean, think about this: 30,000 miles, 40,000 miles. That's still a brand new car to me.
Mm-hmm. To a lot of us.
Yeah, I used to go to Off Lease Only when it was still around and buy vehicles from them all the time. $40,000 vehicle.
You're just getting started. It's not even broken in yet.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, like, I know I'm a little bit strange, but
I agree with you. I get that.
So I mean, you're in the clear. I mean, we're driving that thing 10, 15 years.
I wonder how many people out there are saying, with a little animosity, saying, really, why are they spending this kind of money? Why are you spending that kind of money on leases? Are you just outvoted?
Well, yeah. I mean, they come and they talk, and they got a great maintenance program and this and that. And I'm like thinking, after 30,000,
that kind of money, the better.
Yeah. Well, you got to look. That truck that I drive now is a 2023. I have 107,000 miles on it.
Yes.
So I mean, that thing spends more time at the maintenance place than anything else, just getting a gas oil change. So I'm like, every other month I'm getting an oil change. So, but these cars, they're not doing that. So, but yeah, and you got to think, we probably have, out of 5,000 employees, we probably have 50, 60 cars.
I had no idea the fleet was that large.
Yeah. Well, you got to think, we've got like 3 or 4 in transportation, because every time a bus wrecks, you got to send somebody out there. Okay. We've got 17 security guys.
Okay.
We have our own little security people, because we couldn't pay overtime for football games and stuff. We have our own security team, so we're not paying for overtime. I mean, we've made a lot of cuts. We've got landscaping. We have our own landscapers because, and that was another great economic decision. Every school used to cut their own grass and keep it up, their own maintenance people. Well, if you have a lawnmower, you have a lawnmower, and your lawnmower breaks, and, the janitor couldn't get to the yard and everything else, but now we have a team of 5 guys, and they knock a school out in a couple hours. Yes. So we have changed a lot and changed the mindset a lot. So, and then we got our painters, we got a couple painters, we got a couple electricians. So you're talking a lot. And
I'm guessing they're always on the move.
IT guys, we got 20 IT people, and they have to have their vehicle. They're not going to drive their own personal vehicle everywhere.
Your campaign highlights the new Fort Pierce K-8 schools, approximately $70 million investment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Walk us through this project. Why was it needed?
Well, I sort of already did. I was telling you about St. Lucie Elementary, mm-hmm. the roofs and the air conditions.
So it's just a question of life cycle?
Yeah, I mean, it was built in 1950.
That's significant.
Both the schools. In fact, it's probably 7 years ago. My wife was the principal at Longwood, the other school that we sold, that we're consolidating with. Mm-hmm. The toilets backed up the first week of school. And it's just like...
Were they sabotaged?
No, they're not sabotaged, but it's just, the kids weren't even there. It's just... Teachers were back, and that's what I'm saying is the tree roots grew around the things.
Okay.
That's I mean, it just the cafeteria came from another school. We shipped in the cafeteria at Longwood. It was never meant to be a long-term cafeteria, because the cafeteria at Longwood got shut down because it was so old and it was having issues. Everything was falling apart in the gas lines. Just the whole thing.
Sounds like a cluster flummox to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is if people really knew, it was just a good business decision. Good opportunity.
Well, I tell you what, you just shot a couple of my questions out. We're just going to leave those being.
No, go ahead.
They're not applicable. Trust me on this one. How much of those property sales are going to offset the construction cost? We have a lot.
Well, I mean, we sold some property around here.
Mhm.
What is that older community? There's 55 and up. It's River or something.
Riverwalk,
Riverwalk, is that a 55 and up community
I
around here?
believe so.
Yeah, we sold them back their property. Why we do that? Because we don't need a school in a 55 and up community. They gave us property, but
Yeah.
don't need it. I'm sure they won't
Appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it, but we need it where people are building younger people.
Yes, yes.
So we sold that back, and we made 3 or 4 million off that. So we're gonna end up probably only like 20 to 30 million, depending on how well this building gets built.
It's serious business when somebody with a straight face can say only $30 million. I mean, that's big.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's not like 90 million like the high school.
No, I'm not saying that, but we're talking Pentagon. I mean, this is serious cash. It really is serious cash.
Oh yeah. Stuff I would never see in my lifetime.
One of your constituents raised a unique objection that those neighborhood schools aren't merely buildings, they're community institutions, and closing them will have a negative impact on the community. What say you?
I'm not quite sure. I saw that, and I was just like, I don't think they understand.
Okay.
Because it's...
Explain it to them. What don't they understand?
Number one, it's going to be a K to 8. So they're going to be at that school to have more community. So they start in kindergarten, and they're going to be there till 8th grade. So they're not going to go to another school. So that's one part of the community. And the other thing is it's 3 football fields away from the schools that are already there.
Yeah. Okay.
I already said that. I was just like, do they not know Fort Pierce?
Maybe.
I mean, are they just...
Or maybe they were just trolling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to call them stupid, but are they stupid? And I didn't mean it like that. I just like, did you not look at the map?
Yeah.
Like, here's the school, here's the new school. We're not tearing apart community.
Do those schools have any evening or weekend functions maybe that I don't know about that makes them community rec centers or something?
No, because they don't have gyms.
They don't have gyms.
They don't. That's what I'm saying. Elementary school, we're building something for them that's going to develop community.
Okay. Well, I wasn't ready for that answer.
Yeah. No, this school's going to have a gym. So I mean, I don't understand how that question came about. I can tell you the only thing that I think that they could be upset about is us taking the track away. Because everybody in Fort Pierce uses, either Longwood or that track. And, I mean, that could be possibly it. But the reality of it is we're replacing it with a school that's going to develop community. And that's the purpose of the school.
Now, you had mentioned that during your construction, you used mostly local contractors.
Yes.
What does mostly mean? Can we sharpen that a little bit?
Well, I mean, for concrete, we used Roddy Brothers.
Okay.
Local contractor. Her kids grew up with my kids. Blythe Co. They're the electric. OCI is the engineer.
Why do you go out? Is it because of skill? Why do you leave the county? Why do you leave the community?
I think we leave the community for Florida Atlantic. They're the drywall guys, and we just don't have a big enough drywall crew, I think, in the Tri-County.
So it's a question of scale.
Yeah, but like I said, is mostly roofing. I don't know who we're using for roof on this.
I don't think we need to get that detailed.
Okay, well, I was just going to go through the contract.
No, you're awesome. I frankly wasn't expecting you to get that.
Well, like I said,
it's wonderful.
When you ask a guy that's been here for 20 years and gone to school with these people, like I could tell you, I can tell you OCI, the kids, I can tell you Schinkel Schultz, So I mean, that's what I'm saying is most people don't understand the experience that I have to go diving with this, and I can tell you how much each one's making and this because
Let's talk about things that hit home for many parents. How much influence should the teachers union? Now, often when you use the word teachers union, people roll their eyes, they stiffen up, it scares them. How much influence should the teachers union have over local school board policy?
I don't know if it's how much power should they have, you said? Or-
Let's rephrase influence.
Influence.
Let's rephrase the question. Let's make it fit.
Okay. Honestly, it's a partnership.
Okay.
It's a partnership between us and the union. And
so there's no bullying going on.
There's no bullying. Oh, no. Put it this way. Our union partners understand us, and we understand our union partners, and there's no bullying whatsoever. They're great. I cannot speak highly of David Freeland and Vicky Rodriguez enough, because I've known Vicky for now, 24 years, 25 years. I've only been on the board for 20 years. If we don't work with them, something's wrong. If you can't get, because you got to talk about they're 75% of the budget, but they're 199% of the education going on in your business.
Yes.
And if you don't have a relationship and find out what the teachers are feeling or get the culture of the school, I'm an idiot. Because I need to know what's going on. Like, hey, Troy, we're testing too much. Hey, this is what we're going. Now, do I control that through policy? No, but we can start setting guidelines and talking to the superintendent and saying, hey, superintendent, this is what we're hearing. This is what we're feeling. And then if enough board members are talking, then we'll start having serious discussions. We'll start workshopping things and finding out, what can we do better?
I appreciate your candor.
Yeah, because it's sort of like my employees at Pinch a Penny. If I don't know what's going on with them and happy, my business will suffer, because I'll have more turnover rate. And if I have turnover rate, I don't have consistency, and the customer service will fall apart.
How much influence do they have over the curriculum?
That's a great question. I would probably say no one has influence over curriculum.
Because it's state.
But the reality of it is you have the state sets the state. You got, like I said, you got curriculum choices that you can pick from, and then the state sets the standards too. So you have to teach this, and they make you teach, because by the time you have a PM1 test, PM1 test, I don't know what the P stands for. Anyways, the first test gets taken within the first 3 weeks of school.
Mm-hmm.
That's the baseline of where the student is. PM2 is like the second week in February. First week February, second week February. That's just to measure learning gains. That's the other state test. And then PM3 is like middle of May, a little bit before that. So it's not like the FCAT where you took one test and your life gambled on it and hopefully you had a good day on that day. But no, there's consistency to see where growth is. So you have to pace yourself to that standard.
Troy, we've had a lot of people sit in your seat, but I got to tell you something that's very entertaining to me about your interview. This is the first time I've interviewed somebody where the people behind the camera, the moms, are going like this. They feel it, they sense it. It's cool. It's cool to watch.
Yeah.
You're getting validated behind your back.
Oh, good.
I'm going to show you something that I was given last evening, and I don't quite understand this. I'm looking at the Southport Middle School supply list. First, I'm looking at Sebastian.
Do
you have permission to use Sebastian? Did the U give you permission to use Sebastian? Because it'd be pretty cool if they did. Are they the Hurricanes?
Oh, you're talking about the Ibis.
Yeah, the Ibis.
Yeah,
Sebastian.
Is that what his name is?
His name is Sebastian.
I don't know. I'm not going to say this online. I don't know.
They do have their own law school, so tread carefully.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know who goes to that law school is the superintendent's son.
Oh, yeah?
He's first year there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. But the reality of it is Palm Beach Gardens. Where are you from again?
Well, I went to law school in Miami.
No. But Gardens used to have, I think it's Gardens down there, had a gator on their mascot on their basketball court.
Oh.
And the Gators made them tear it up.
Really?
Yeah, for real. So, I mean, it's not really too funny here.
So Gainesville shredded them, And Miami stepped up to the plate. Just saying.
I don't know about
that's
that.
my story.
I don't know.
No,
about
that's
this.
my
I don't know
story.
about
You
this.
heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
But what about that supply list? I look. No,
Okay,
it's
now-
sad that they actually just get it out.
Now, they need to have these supplies with them every day. And I'm looking at dry erase markers.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
No, I don't think that's
silly.
it. No, because you know what it is daily supplies. These
Yeah.
items need to be with them every day.
I can't imagine some kid walking around with a dry erase marker in his or a dry eraser.
No. What normally what they do is they bring it in and leave it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with carrying scissors,
As long as they don't run, I think
glue
it's okay.
sticks. Yeah,
And I think they had to bring in 4 or 5 of them. I got that list. I'm looking at saying, wait, what?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
do they supply the classrooms? Is that part of this?
That's
stocking
what it is.
the classrooms.
You're stocking the teacher.
Why
for the
isn't
year.
why isn't photocopy paper on there then? Because that's something. When I reached that conclusion, I looked for photocopy paper. I didn't see it.
Because you don't want to bring that every day.
Oh no! Hey, did you bring your 2 rolls? No, I didn't bring my reams.
Where's your Kleenex rolls? But hey, at least we're not bringing toilet paper.
Now that would be humorous.
Well, you know why they probably stopped is because every bathroom has a different roll. Yeah, it wouldn't fit all in there. But yeah, no. This is a it's basically
Oh, I know what it is. I'm just looking for something lighter, and I wanted to point out
the ibis. Yeah, I hear you.
We have Sebastian. There's some canes over here.
Well, being a Seminole, it's always good to go wide right.
Wide right, wide left, wide right.
Yeah.
That's fun. That really is fun. What right do district parents have over their children's education?
That's a great question. That's one where they're like, I feel like my kids are being indoctrinated. And
what are they being indoctrinated with?
I don't know. When I hear that, I get concerned. And they're indoctrinating. Well, let's talk about this. And if that is the case, let's have this open discussion, and let's take care of that feeling, because you're the parent and you have that right. You have that right to say, I don't want my kid to be exposed to this. And particularly with the sex education that we have, and we're not really pushing it, but we had this vote like 15 years ago or 10 years ago. I was the no vote. But with the no vote is that parents could opt out of that part of the class. Same thing with other things is, hey, some of the books that we had, we moved some of the books of the library behind the library desk, and parents have to opt in to let their kids read those books.
That was going to be my next question. What class of books were put behind the desk?
Some of them I was uncomfortable with because, just some things that aren't said in my household. That
we talking sexuality?
Oh no, not really that. I was probably like there was one book that dropped the F-bomb like 13 times.
Okay.
I'm like, we don't use that in my house. So if it was a book like over PG-13, it had to be removed and put in a different part of the library.
Well, I think some people would argue Mark Twain isn't PG-13. Where do I find Mark Twain in it?
I don't think Mark Twain is PG-13 anymore. I know there's a lot of racial slurs. I know, I've been in Mark Twain's grave like 100 times. Every time we went up to Ithaca or Cornell, my parents would always take us to Mark Twain's grave. My grandparents would.
He's a brilliant writer.
Well, he was.
Prolific. Absolutely prolific.
Yeah. So, and that's the problem that I had with banning books is where is the line drawn?
Well, are we really banning books or are we simply relocating them? See, when I hear banning books and state action, I think you can't read this.
That's where I lost a lot of my support.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't ban the book.
You lost support because you wouldn't ban the book? They wanted the book banned.
They wanted the book banned.
I'm not following that. Can you explain the rationale if you choose to?
No. Conservative, right-wing people didn't want those books in there. They shouldn't be in there.
At all.
At all. at all. And there was probably about 10 books. Now, here's the whole stupid part of the conversation is out of these 10 books, they've probably out of the last 15 years were checked out 50 times.
And some, I'm sure, are just questions of curiosity. Others to find out what the counter argument is to that argument, develop their thoughts.
Exactly.
I mean, that's frankly speaking why I would pick one up.
Exactly.
You know, I want to know what the other side has to say.
So, but the reality of it is I read all these books. I was offended by a couple of them, but like I said, is my household doesn't use that type of language.
Yeah.
So, but kids nowadays, you know, when parents come in, they're dropping the F-bomb at the principal and teacher. So, you know, is it for I feel uncomfortable with that. So anyway, that's just the way that I was raised and stuff. You know, you don't do that around women. You don't do that. But some of the books, and I'm going to be purely honest. Let's take gosh, it was the book from Iraq. Afghanistan.
Book from Iraq or Afghanistan.
And I encourage you to read it.
Is it a children's book?
No. It's a book that we moved to 17, 18-year-olds.
We're not talking American Sniper or anything like that.
No, okay. Something a whole lot more. Man, we didn't talk about this book. This book is probably in 2% to 5% of ACT or SAT tests.
Really?
So I felt like it was important to leave the book in there. And on top of that, the book is about the caste system in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
The kid served under a dictator's family, and the two kids got along. Well, because he was a lower caste, he ended up getting raped by an Iraqi soldier. Mm-hmm. And the book goes very detailed about what happened. And it
graphic.
Oh
God.
Graphic. Little uncomfortable.
That sounds almost pornographic in a very dark way.
But you're getting the feel of what was taking place.
Do we need the feel of what was taking place?
Don't think you needed the feel.
Okay.
But it was a true story.
Every true story doesn't have to be repeated.
Exactly. Got that feeling. So it's like 2 or 3 pages, but when you get done reading that, it sets the tone of, you know, how this kid felt and how the caste system worked. And then this kid got left behind while the dictator kid got flown to New York City and had a new life. And this kid got left behind.
Right.
And he eventually lost his life protecting the dictator's home. And I had a couple of kids go to Afghanistan and lose their lives. As a youth pastor, we teach God is number one, family and your country, love of everything, and freedom. So when you start thinking of this book, you know, these kids that go off to war need to read this book.
Right.
They need to understand the people that they're talking to.
Some cultural awareness would help.
Some cultural awareness. And this is the only book that I've ever read that discussed this kind of stuff.
Oh, heaven's sakes. Now I see what you're putting down.
Yeah. When I read those 28 books, there's reasons behind every one of those books that I'm like, oh, wow, I can see this. So these kids read this book and they understand why they're fighting a war now. They understand why these kids are giving their lives and committing their lives to an Afghanistan war that they don't even believe in.
Right.
So that book was important for that. Gosh, I wish I could remember the book. The other one was 13 Reasons. I read this one. Did you read? You know 13 Reasons?
No, I'm wondering 13 reasons to what?
The kid commits suicide.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
And there's 13 reasons, and each kid had a different reason of looking at this kid and not knowing what happened.
That's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. One of the darkest books I've read. And I'm like, God, why is this in my school district? That book was checked out that year 400 times.
That's heartbreaking.
At the end of the book, they talk about counseling and calling for help.
Right.
So kids that are reading that book, you know what we should have done as a school district, and you know what I encourage the superintendent to do? If someone checks this book out, we need to give them a counselor, because they're not reading it for entertainment purposes.
They're reading it for understanding and survival.
Yeah. And it's at a middle school. We moved it up a little bit, but I was like, I don't even know if we should move the book up, because this book, as graphic as it may be, is helping kids. Because if that was my kid that needed help,
heavens yes.
Absolutely. God forbid, let them read the book.
Absolutely.
But you know what, though? As a parent, I'd want to know they were reading the book, so if I could help them.
Also true.
But at that time, changing gears, I knew my daughter was watching the TV show, because that was 13 Reasons. That came out back in 2015, 13. So I already knew a little bit about it because of my kids.
Right.
But I knew as a TV show that I wasn't watching it with them. But I sure as hell was walking through the living room, listening to it, and just making sure. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? I don't want to be that helicopter parent sitting there, because they're not going to open up.
Yeah.
But I needed to make sure, hey, how did you feel about when you watched that? What did that person make you feel like? Looking at that, finding out why that kid committed suicide. So these books, as heavy as they are, some of them had meaning, and some of them, there was a transgender book that, I didn't agree with. The kid wanted to be a transgender. Well, you know what? If you're dealing with that issue, you're going to probably check the book out. And that's a good way to make sure that kid's feeling comfortable in themselves. And, do I agree with it? No. But as a school board member, I need to make sure that they feel safe and secure.
You created an interesting segue by bringing that up, and I appreciate it. When people self-identify, I am whatever value that is, the concepts around us, the ideas around us can still be discussed without feeling attacked. But I've noticed in the past 5, 10, 15 years, it was incremental. Those ideas became the personification. They became the identity. So even raising the issue is a personal attack, which means now we have a sacred cow or something we just can't address.
Mm-hmm.
Is the school district dealing with those kind of problems right now?
I don't think we deal with them. I think that we have a great group of teachers that work with students that help them work through things.
Good.
And that's where some parents are like, "Oh, they're indoctrinating my kid." No, they're not indoctrinating. Your kid's coming in with questions, and we need to help them.
Yeah, rigid thinking is an enemy. It really is.
Yeah,
it's an absolute enemy.
Yeah, because there is A, B, C, D is not the formula anymore,
right?
Because you have to change, and that's why I said is people said you don't change. I'm like, I change all the time, because if you don't change, we're not going to have programs. We're not going to do the things that we have to do to get kids going to school and keep them in school. I mean, we have boat mechanics. I would never have thought the day that we're taking apart boat engines. Well, why are we taking apart boat engines? Well, because we've got Maverick, we've got Contender, we've got things here where kids want to get interested in boats.
Sure.
Welding and stuff like that. People will say, "Oh, you guys don't do the trades." Yeah. Right. Well, and I say that because we need to keep in tune to what the kids need and want. We stop losing. I feel bad. I don't want to go there. Right? I will go.
You open the door.
I will go there. Well, the community and the community college does a great job. But when you start cutting the arts and stuff like that, you're cutting opportunities out for kids in the community to be successful.
Right.
And I just feel that keeps some kids going. So I'm not sure why institutions, higher learning institutions, cut out programs. I mean, because if you cut the arts, you're going to Europe was born on the arts. The Renaissance period.
I was just going to say that.
So, I mean, you take...
Yeah, we don't want to go into the Dark Ages.
Well, I mean, the Dark Ages brought you to the Light Ages. You got to go through the Dark Ages to see the light.
I guess, but they didn't have to start.
No. But that's the reality of it is...
Yeah.
And that's where people say the first things to go is the arts. Not in my school district. We're gonna be equal. It's important. It keeps kids in school.
Troy, you get the final word.
Lexi, it's been great. I appreciate your questions.
He called me Lexi.
Oh, Lex. My bad.
You're walking back to your car, brother, and I don't want to hear about heat. That's going to be 300 yards uphill, barefoot.
Well, hopefully I didn't offend too many people today. You heard my heart. If you ever have any questions or concerns of what I said, there's always, you can email me, call me on my cell phone, 772-359-5433. I'm always available. I appreciate the opportunity just to be able to come in here and hang out.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. Please consider the door open for you.
Anytime.
It'd be great to have you back and as the school year proceeds. Governors, we hope you found this interview informative. I certainly did. Please like and subscribe. Follow us. There will be additional interviews. Like so we can get an idea of what content you prefer. Special shout out to our producers. Without you, we'd be nowhere.
Yes, thank you.
Superiade. Govern your shit.
Thanks, bud.